This is the Seahawkers podcast, episode 470. I'm Brandon Schultz of the Military Seahawkers, and I am joined by my good buddy, Adam Emmerich. Adam, know your rival season is coming to an end, and we're doing it with the stupid San Francisco 49ers.
We are, and I'm glad we left them for last for a couple reasons. One, we can talk about them and then bury them in camp news, which is really fun because we can talk more about Seahawks at that point. And secondly, because, dang, a lot went on for this 49ers team this offseason, Brandon, and it is interesting.
I like to look down the list of departures and arrivals, and just that list of departures, and we'll get into it, but holy smokes, of all the teams within the division, the amount of talent lost by the Niners is very significant. And it goes back again to how we bring up this order of talking through teams. And generally it's, we start with the one that we think is going to finish the lowest and then end with the one that we think might win the division.
So Cardinals every year we start with.
So Cardinals every year we start with, and then it's kind of a decision on whether or not we go Rams or 49ers. And with the Niners, there is a lot of off-season hype. And of all the teams in the division, I think this one has the most variance of could they finish at the bottom or could they finish at the top? And I guess what it came down to, the reason why I wanted to finish with them, it's the team we start the season with, and it's the team that we end the season with.
That's a great point. I hadn't even thought about it in those terms. And you talk about all of the departures and trying to reconfigure that roster and the variance that could be with their season, considering injuries and, guys like Christian McCaffrey, and like, what do you get out of him? Like, do you have old CMC? Is this a different CMC? We'll see. I look at all that, and over the years here in the NFC West, it's been very interesting because I think it's the most resilient division in football. And I think back to Russ leaving and all of us, well, I won't speak for everybody, all the 12s, but for me personally, it was kind of like, oh crap, we're screwed. Like, our franchise guy is gone, and to watch them bounce back, be very competitive, and be in the 9-10 win conversation each and every year, I think is something. And then the Rams with the F them picks mantra, in watching all of that finally have to be accounted for, and they do it, and I poo-poo their moves and say there's no way that this could keep them competitive, and yet highly competitive. And that's really interesting. And so I look at this San Francisco offseason and all of the departures and relying on a bunch of rookies, and especially defensively,
right?
And I go, I want to sit here and say, oh, it's finally come to roost because they finally had to pay Brock. They finally, everything is kind of come full circle, and this run comes to an end, just like everything, because everything that has a beginning has an end. But then I look at recent experience with all the good teams in the NFC West, and it kind of proves out otherwise. Like, we put the Cardinals aside because they're whatever. But well,
they're consistent. They're super consistent.
Yeah, they're consistently catfish, which is fun. But with that said, I'm hesitant to look at all the departures and go, yeah, this is the beginning of the end. Like, finally, the draft picks of the Trey Lance trade are catching up to him. Finally, the Brock Purdy contract is here, and that changes things. And, age is catching up to this roster a little bit. And I want to just throw out a bunch of cold water on their season. And then I just remember what's happened with the Rams and the Seahawks the last couple of years.
This was a team I wanted to bury years ago after they picked Trey Lance with the 3rd pick overall. And having to move on from that, having to give up the draft capital that they did to be able to make that move. And then they select a quarterback with the very final pick in the draft with Brock Purdy in 2022. And that is the thing that saves them from having like quarterback purgatory, essentially.
It's such bull catfish.
It is.
It's super annoying.
So they find a way. John Lynch has found a way, along with Kyle Shanahan. It probably speaks to the ability of Kyle Shanahan to put consistently good offenses together, despite, gosh, they pay a guy like Deebo Samuel, then they decide to move on from him. They pay a guy like Brandon Ayuk, who gets hurt last year, and I guess with the injuries last year, that is what did them in. They could not overcome injuries to Christian McCaffrey, to Brandon Ayuk, other injuries. So that so much of the 49ers success, I feel like in the last, I don't know, 5 years has been with injury luck.
Yeah, that's been really the tale of most of their seasons is health. But beyond that, I think last year, beyond the injuries, it really came down to the brain drain on the defensive side of the ball. Like that seemed to really hurt them. You hear 49ers fans talk about the last 2 seasons defensively with their DCs and not at all pleased with it. And, seen a drop off in the quality of play because there was a while there where they were at the top of the defensive rankings in about any category that you'd want to look at. In the last couple of years, especially late in games and situational football, it hasn't looked as good. And I think one of the things I find interesting about their offseason, and you compare it to the other teams in the NFC West, I think there's 2 teams in this division that the biggest change is that coordinator, and that's the Seahawks with the offense. And we're putting a lot of eggs in the Clint Kubiak basket. Right. And then we look at the 49ers, and maybe their biggest move of the offseason by far is bringing back Robert Saleh to captain the defense.
I'd say that is a significant move. I think that it's that paired with some of these draft picks on the defensive line that kind of tells the story of where they were really deficient last year. And I pointed to a lot of offensive injuries, but a lot of their struggles came from the defensive side of the ball and really that inability to stop the run on early downs. Yeah. And that was the thing that through this offseason, with a lot of their draft choices, it's like, oh, that guy's really good at stopping the run. That guy's really good at stopping the run. Oh, shoot, this guy's really good at stopping the run too. And they just loaded up on those types of guys and then bring back Robert Saleh. It's like, okay, their biggest issue defensively, I think, is the one that they've really put a lot of attention to this offseason. And you wonder about where the pass rush stuff that might come from. But really they're focused on, I think, what's going to be the legitimate problem. And I guess it's just going to come down to, can some of those rookies and in combination with Robert Saleh, can they get that fixed?
Yeah, it was interesting to see that the Niners went out and they saw a deficiency on their team in terms of run defense and then said, hey, I got an idea. Let's spend resources both in free agency and the draft to go out in the coaching ranks to go out and try to fix this immediately. Little jealous. I'm not going to lie.
It all comes back to Adam with the offensive line on the Seahawks.
I didn't even mention the position group. If you guys guessed it on your own, that's for you. But it's interesting. It's a different approach, and we'll see if it pans out for them. But it's the way that my brain works. It's like, okay, this is your biggest problem. Then go get it. Go fix it. And we'll see if the Seahawks did enough offensively on the offensive line. Maybe they did. Maybe it all works out, and I'm really rooting for it to go that way. It's a lot of change, though, for these Niners on the defense, and I think maybe that's the place to start.
Sure.
And really kind of dig into.
Go down the list of departures, especially starting with defense. Linebacker Dre Greenlaw, he signs a deal with the Denver Broncos. Talanoa Hufanga signs a deal with the Denver Broncos. So they lose 2 of their bigger pieces on defense. Now, Hufanga has struggled with injuries, and so how much of that is impactful? I think the linebacker part is a big impact. Tavarius Ward, he signs with the Indianapolis Colts. Javon Hargrave up front, he signs with the Vikings. They lose defensive tackle Malik Collins. They lose defensive end Leonard Floyd. They lose cornerback Isaac Yiadom, who, gosh, was just like a 1-year rental, I feel like, last year. But we're getting down to Brock Yassin. I hit the big ones.
Yeah, no, you hit the hits and you start getting into some of the depth pieces, right? Which matter, but maybe not quite as impactful as some of the other guys. And that's a lot of talent that walked out the door. And maybe you would argue that Hargrave is past his prime because he didn't quite perform maybe to the level that Niners fans and maybe the organization expected when they brought him in from the Eagles, and he moves on. Dre Greenlaw, I think him and Warner and Bosa, like those seemed like the three pillars of their defense to me. And I understand he had the Achilles and all of that, but heck of a player. And he's what, a full year removed from that, the injury.
Right.
So I mean, you would think that at his age he'd be pretty well good to go. Tough to see that talent walk out the door. I think that's going to make a big difference for them. And then Hufanga, depends on kind of who you talk to with different players and different analysts. Some people think he's a great player, and it's just the injuries that hold him back. And then there's other guys that will tell you, great guesser at times. And when he's guessing right, then he's fantastic. And when he's off, then it's a tough thing to watch. So we'll see there. I think the Travarius Ward departure, I think that's one of the biggest ones. And I totally understand why he's not there in, whatever he needed to do to turn the page in his life after what his family went through this last year. Absolutely. Like, I hope you have a successful time in Indianapolis for sure, but a really good corner. And I think that's going to be, of those guys, Greenlaw and Ward, I almost would choose Ward maybe as being the bigger loss there.
That one's tough because I think they were prepared for the Ward departure. They pick Renardo Green up in the second round back in 2024, and he had pretty good success in coverage last year. And so I think they might be comfortable here with that. Obviously, they're comfortable with Lenore, signing him to a long-term deal last year, and he's under like a pretty team-friendly contract. The way that they've structured a lot of their contracts, it ends up, they have a good way of well, it's similar to the Eagles, to where they stretch things out over the long term. And I don't know if we're going to find out whether or not that comes back to bite some of these other teams. But so far,
maybe it's like the national debt. Maybe it just legit doesn't matter until it ultimately matters, right? I don't know.
But they bring in Trey Brown, so they have him as a depth piece, probably as the third outside corner. I know, gross.
That has to hurt you.
Like, I'm
on
not
the inside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, my hope is that nobody gets injured, and then he just won't play much, and then he can't hurt me.
There you go.
They get Upton Stout, who I think they might be looking to, a third-round pick, who they might be expecting to be that nickel corner starting. But, yeah, D. Winters is the guy who's probably going to be filling in then for Dre Greenlaw, unless it's Nick Martin who's behind him on the depth chart, who they picked up in the third round too. So, again, relying on young players. And then you go to the defensive line, and it really looks like they have Michael Williams and Alfred Collins, their first two draft picks, slated to start already there with Nick Bosa and Jordan Elliott on the starting line there.
Yeah, and then you throw in the addition of CJ West in the draft too, which that one hurt my feelings because after having our conversation with him down at Shrine Bowl, he's a tremendous human, and I would have loved to see him here in Seattle instead of down there in the dirty Bay Area. But hey, whatever, I guess. I mean, that's the way the cookie crumbles. But yeah, they have massive change up there, and let's not forget that Nick Bosa is a year older, and has been getting nicked up a little bit more here and there. And what do they have in pass rush outside of that on the edge? It's not a lot to write home about.
Bryce Huff, I suppose, who I think there's some familiarity there. He was with the Eagles last season, and I think the reason why he finds himself on the team is because he was with the Jets, and so it's a kind of a familiar piece.
That makes
there.
sense. Yeah.
And the same reason for why Jason Pinnock is there too at safety, and with Malik Mustafa dealing with injury. I think, what was his deal? Was he ACL, I think, last year? One of the CLs, something like that.
Yeah.
So he's going to miss some time. And safety feels like probably the weakest point, well, between safety and pass rush outside of Nick Bosa.
Yeah, it really does. And, you know, you're kind of putting all your eggs in that Nick Bosa basket. And the thing is that Lenore is a good corner. I get that. But with losing Ward and I know they're relying on Green from the draft last year and all that, I think those guys could look a lot more mortal if the pass rush isn't what it's been in years past. And I think if I were a Niners fan, as good as Robert Saleh is, as good as Nick Bosa is, that doesn't necessarily like just give you a pass rush. Like I think that that's a thing that they could struggle with. And if they do, no matter what Robert Saleh does, that back end might not look that great.
Yeah, that's the biggest question there. So yeah, Mustafa recovering from an ACL injury. They have Yetur Gross-Matos, who, if he could stay on the field, like maybe you could count on him as providing a little bit of pass rush too, but it doesn't look like he's going to be ready to start the year either. Yeah, they put him on the PUP list to start the season.
Oh, is he even on the PUP? Wow. Okay. Yeah. Dang. Yeah, it gets interesting real quick. Well, yeah, we'll see how this goes for them. Michael Williams, like, I don't know. How did you feel about him coming out of the draft?
I think he's good, but he's a really good run stopper with maybe a little bit of pass rush upside, which is it's the same thing with CJ West, like really good run stopper with maybe a little pass rush upside. And so, and then they have Collins too. It just seems like those are the guys that they put a heavy amount of weight into the run stopping issue, which is great because then maybe once you get to 3rd and long, like if you're consistently getting to 3rd and long, I think that those types of guys, you'll start to see them unlock maybe some of the pass rush part of it, but it's going to be a kind of a big if on whether or not transitioning from college to the pros is that run stop ability going to stick.
And I think for a lot of rookies, and we even saw this a little bit with Byron Murphy last year, the strength in the run part of the game is, I think, probably the biggest jump for these guys. Because never forget, these guys come out of college, go right into the whole draft season, and they're not necessarily training for football. You know, they're more kind of training for measurables. In the grind is just consistent and nonstop. And then it goes into your first rookie year and you've got a longer season than you're ever used to playing. I think that jump in the strength aspect and in the run game, I think might be one of the hardest for especially defensive linemen and linebackers. They're putting a ton of eggs in the rookie class basket that way. No doubt about it.
So that's a look at the Niners defensively. We haven't really talked about that much in this offseason. Haven't really talked about the Brock Purdy contract and what it means. I think initially when it came out, it's a big number. But then you look at some of the details and again, the way that the 49ers have structured their contracts, and you look at it and go, oh man, this is actually a kind of a team-friendly contract that Brock Purdy has given the Niners. And considering the way he's played, the weapons that they've put around him, like he's played well. And I kind of wish he would have stuck it to the Niners a little bit more and tried to get a little bit better contract.
Is it the guaranteed part of it that disappoints you a little bit as a rival fan?
Yeah. Because isn't it like 100 million guaranteed? Like it's 180 fully guaranteed, but that's like with injuries and stuff. Yeah, but really only like 100 million guaranteed.
Right. And that's on the, for those big contracts, that's on the lower end there. But for me personally, I tend to look at these contracts in average annual salary, because like if they have to have Brock Purdy be their quarterback for the next 3 years, like they have to.
Sure.
Right. So you're going to pay the contract through those first 3 years. And the reason why I look at the average annual salary and why it makes more sense to me personally is everybody does their cap voodoo magic the first year, and then the cap hit goes up, and like it's all over the place, and it's hard to track. But I think the average really kind of does tell the story about that guy in terms of long term. To me, if everybody else wants to view it differently, that's fine. And when you look at it, he comes in 8th in the league at $53 million per year average annual salary.
Right.
And I look at that number to me, that's a mistake on a Tua level, a Trevor Lawrence level, a Dak Prescott level. Those are all guys I would never have paid in that echelon. And Brock, while most successful in terms of wins and losses and how far he's gone in the playoffs, I don't view him as that guy that you pay top tierish money to. Same as I felt about Geno. Okay, in the 45, 47 million, sure, you start getting north of 50. Like, what are we doing? Sure. Like, I would have never paid Dak. I'd have never paid Trevor. I'd have never paid Tua. And I'd have never paid Brock this kind of money. Never.
But when I look at it, so I look at it more from the cap number over the next 3 years, because, I think that, say something happens and maybe he I don't know. The pumpkin, he turns back into a pumpkin. The cap number over the next 3 years, this year, it's $9 million. And part of that, again, it's re-signing the contract, the way they structure it, usually the first year, very favorable.
Yeah.
But then 2026, it's still, the cap number is under 25 million. Yeah. And then the year after that is 30 million. And so I look at those next 3 years, I go, that's something that as a team, it's really favorable having your starting quarterback. And whether or not you want to put him in the top 10 or not, that's still less than 10% of their salary cap over the next 3 years.
No, that's a good point. And that does help. But they're kicking the can down the road. And they also, the way the contract's structured as well, if they were, let's say for some, this would never happen because Brock Purdy seems like a nice dude, but let's say Brock Purdy gets in some off-field thing this offseason that's like seriously horrific and they had to cut him this year, be 62 in dead cap. Like, ouch. Like that would be brutal. Next year it's 90 million in dead cap if something were to happen and they, like, maybe he didn't perform or whatever it is, kind of a Russell Wilson in Denver sort of situation. Third year, 66 million. It's not until you get to that fourth year where it drops down to like 38 million in dead cap. So they're married for 3 years.
Right.
To Brock Purdy. Like there's no getting out of it. Even if the cap hit isn't, or even if the cap hit for the next 3 years with him on the team isn't insurmountable, it's still, I mean, you're locked into a mid-tier dude at high-tier numbers at the end of the day.
At what I would think is a low risk, because the situation that you just laid out is that there'd have to be something that you wouldn't even expect that happens with Brock Purdy.
Yeah, for this year. I'm saying like next year and the year after, like if he just doesn't perform, like the team around him isn't quite as good, maybe in year 2 of this contract, Trent Williams isn't there and the offensive line struggles and CMC's never CMC again. I mean, I don't know that he's going to be that guy that elevates the team as they go through this offensive transition over the next few years. And it could look really bad and people could be screaming for him to be run out of town, and the cap hit makes it pretty prohibitive.
Right. Well,
the dead cap hit.
Sure. And that's at least for the next 2-3 years, which I think that they decided, obviously, by giving them this contract, is that the next 2 to 3 years, we feel like we have our guy. And I think that we're going to see Brock Purdy be a part of this, a significant part of the team over the next 3 years. So,
you don't see Mac Jones overtaking him for the starting position,
or Curtis Rourke, who I know you like.
I do. I do. I could see that. Like he's got some talent.
Yeah. I could see if they had an injury situation come up to where they could have some success with this team with Mac Jones, just because of their ability. Like, Shanahan always seems to find running backs that have the ability to do something really, really well. And so when I see the departure of like Elijah Mitchell and gosh, who would they draft? Like some 6th rounder who's probably, he's probably going to fit that mold too. Jordan James, 5th rounder. They got Isaac Guerrero still, and he filled in pretty well when McCaffrey was down. So
they got rid of Mason though. He's up in Minnesota now.
Yeah.
Oh, they traded him away.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was one that had me scratching my head. Like and listening to some 49ers pods over the last year and so, there's a ton of guys out there. They're like, what are we doing? Why isn't this guy on the field more? He's hyper productive. But you make a good point that, guys like Guerrero or go down the list throughout the years, the Elijah Mitchells of the world, like where he gets solid production out of those guys with his scheme. And that's super annoying.
Yeah. So other losses on the offense, Joshua Dobbs, he goes to the Patriots. Brandon Allen goes to the Titans. They lose. This is a piece that I don't think is talked about enough, but they lose tight end Eric Saubert to our Seattle Seahawks, which I think that should be probably a crippling move to their tight end group.
Division swinging move right there. Yeah. For Saubert.
Because you have George Kittle. But after that, Ross Dwelly is going to take up the mantle.
He does some things. I like Dwelly. Okay.
I'm trying to play up the loss of Eric Saubert here.
Yeah, it's true. It's over for them. But honestly, the wide receiver room, this gets interesting when you start going through that because the biggest name on offense to depart is Debo, right? Goes to the Commanders. And while I think that because of his style of play, and especially because Kyle used him a certain way and really kind of used up his body, I think he is a diminishing player, but still one of those heartbeat guys for the team. It'll be interesting to see them replace that voice within the offense. And Ayuk coming back off of the ACL from last year.
You might not be ready to start the season.
Might not be ready. And then you got Ricky Pearsall, who I think he played fairly well. Not amazing, but he was decent once he came back from the gunshot wound, and good for him. Like, happy that he made a full recovery, and thank goodness for that. But I didn't see him play and go, ooh, that's a future one that I need to really be afraid of going forward. And then you talk about maybe their most important receiver, 3rd and Jauan, in a contract dispute. There's a lot of drama there. Another year of 49ers wide receiver drama.
Well, Jennings has a good point to make because if he looks at this team right now and sees an opportunity, it's because, Pearsall, yes, he's going into his 2nd year, but he's also dealing with a hamstring injury right now. Ayuk not going to be ready to start the season. Demarcus Robinson, who they picked up, he might not be ready to start early season because the reports were back in May that he's looking at a potential 3-game suspension because of a DUI. Yeah.
Oh no. Oh, yeah. Because I've had to change my mind about Demarcus Robinson. I made fun of him for a long time on the Rams, and he just come in and chew us up. He's a good player.
But, he's good. But
that's
also
a terrible decision.
He just pled, I think this week, no contest to a misdemeanor DUI charge. I still don't understand what pleading no contest means, but I do think that it resolves that. We'll probably find out about the suspension now that he has that part of it resolved. Jacob Cowing, he hurt his hamstring like on the first day of practice, but he's more of a special teams guy. But again, 2nd year, a guy maybe they're looking. Jordan Watkins, a guy they picked up in the 4th round of the draft. I know a lot of people like his route running ability. So, and then while we're talking wide receivers, we got to bring up the University of Montana guy, Junior Bergen, who the Niners picked up.
I know. I didn't want to talk about it because it's hard to watch a Grizz play for the Niners. It does hurt my feelings. But no, he's a guy who plays. He's a talented dude, and he
special teams, especially. I remember watching so many Grizz games where they'd be like down late in the game, and he would the other team would score, then they'd kick off, and for some reason they would kick it to Junior Bergen, and he would run it back for a touchdown, and then like all of a sudden the Grizz would have the lead or tie it up, and just a really good special teams player.
Yeah, difference maker. Very much a difference maker at that level of football. We'll see if it translates here in the NFL. Hopefully it doesn't for the Niners, and they release him and he goes somewhere else and just
comes to our Seahawks, and then he ends up being our new returner and shows the Niners like, yeah, this is what you get for releasing me.
That's right. Yeah, I like that storyline. Let's have that happen. That'd be great. I know that would be a little rough for Junior in the beginning, but it would work out awesome for him in the end if that all worked out. But yeah, there's a lot of question marks in the wide receiving room, in my opinion. Because I never thought of Ayuk as that sort of guy, even before the injury when they were looking to pay him. I wouldn't have paid it. Much like I wouldn't have paid DK the money that he ended up with the Steelers. I said that far before the trade, and I stand by that. I'm not completely sold on the Pearsall thing. I think could be a very good receiver. I'm not sure he's the number one. And
Jauan definitely needs to hold out, like as long as he can for as much money as possible.
Well, it seems as if that's how they do these negotiations with these receivers. They're in the Bay Area. Like every year it goes on like this. It's like they take the Jerry Jones approach to get these contracts done with the receivers. Like, what are we doing?
And don't trade them like at their maximum value. You trade Deebo Samuel before the draft a couple years ago, and you don't have to pay him, and you get some draft picks. You do the same thing with Ayuk. Unfortunately, they were a little unlucky in that he got injured last year right after paying him. So, but he would have been one to probably go ahead and move on from. And now they have kind of a depth issue that maybe they're able to work out of it with the draft pick, with Watkins, with if they do sign Jennings, which I feel like that would probably be, they'll probably find a way to make a deal with Jennings. My guess.
I'd be stunned if it didn't happen.
But if they have to pay him a lot,
yeah, I don't know. And again, even with the relatively low cap hit the first year for Purdy, like, are you able to fit him and Purdy in over the next 3 years with if you have to pay Jauan big money? Maybe you can. Maybe I don't know.
I think they find again, looking at the way that they've been able to structure their contracts and find room for guys. Shoot, looking at their team cap space right now, they have $45 million in cap space, like right now.
Why? How?
Exactly.
Yeah, because they got rid of a bunch of dudes over the offseason. That's how.
That is how. And I think, again, Jauan looks at that and goes, hey, I feel like there's room to pay me here since you got me at such a good deal last year. I'm in the second year of a 2-year deal that you gave me, and I way outperformed it. And I'm probably going to outperform it again this year because I'm starting the year as your number one.
Yeah, and I honestly view Jauan Jennings as a top tier number 2 or a lower tier number 1. I think he's right in there. I don't think that he's a guy that threatens defense in a way vertically that scares people, but in terms of situational football and coming up with the big catches when it has to happen, especially contested catches, he's really good at that.
And so when I look at the 49ers and the way that they've structured their cap, it makes a lot of sense. Trent Williams, their best player, probably future Hall of Famer, obviously. He's the guy who's commanding most of the salary at a $21 million cap hit. Nick Bosa right behind him at $20 million. Fred Warner right behind them at $16 million. So 3 of your best players are getting under contract amounts that aren't, they're find a way to make them team friendly. George Kittle beyond that. And then top 5 is Ayuk. We noticed we haven't even gotten to Brock Purdy again because
first year though, like that, it's a first year cap. It's always super low. Like I feel it's almost disingenuous, right? Like, and I know that's not what you're trying to do or anything, but
no. But just looking at their top 5 salary guys, and then it's Gross Matos, who I think that he's dead money, so they're gonna have to ride it out with him. and whatever injury issues he's dealing with. But then, yeah, Brock Purdy, Christian McCaffrey, and Bryce Huff in the trade.
So you brought up Trent Williams in that discussion there, and obviously their best offensive lineman. I mean, even Jason Peters at some point became a dude, right? Instead of just a dude, rather than one of the best in the league, if not the best. Is this finally the year? Is this finally it? I'm going to do this with this guy for as long as it takes, because I did the same thing with Brady and was wrong year after year after year.
Or Aaron Donald. I think we did the same thing with him year after year in these shows.
Oh, that was more like, will he leave? Like retire? Then he's not going to be good anymore.
Oh, okay, yeah.
For me anyways. But yeah, Trent Williams, is this, I can't help but think like one of these years, like he's not going to be the Trent Williams anymore.
Well, especially when a guy that was drafted that same year in 2010, right after him on the offensive line. I mean, has Russell Okung been playing in the league for, I don't know, how many years has he been out?
Yeah.
Like, look how he's found a way to slim down to like 200 pounds since then.
Yeah, he's looking real good, actually. Yeah, his last up.
Earl Thomas was that same draft. Jason Pierre-Paul.
Oh yeah. Oh, speaking of Okung, this is a sidetrack here, real quick. But remember when he did his own deal and he got paid in Bitcoin and everybody made fun of him?
Yeah.
Yeah. Who's laughing now?
What with Bitcoin at like $130,000 per Bitcoin?
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I think Bitcoin's a scam. Like I'd never touch it with a million years or with a 10-foot pole. But
but if he cashed out now, that decision's looking really smart.
It's looking real smart. So good for Russell. Like I'm very happy for him. But you get past Trent Williams, if he can have another Trent Williams year, and you look at the rest of the line, and I mean, what you got? Either Burford or Barch is going to be there at left guard. Jake Brendel at center, who I think half of the Bay Area hates at center. I just hear constant bitching about that guy. Dominic Pooty at right guard.
He was okay last year as a rookie,
right? Yeah. And McKivitz out at right tackle, who, you know,
he's all right. Yeah,
has his ups and downs, but the rest of the line outside of Trent Williams, you look at that and you go, that's kind of a puddle of meh.
It is, but I feel like of the offensive lines that we covered, like Niners fans, they might complain, but I don't think that they have much to complain about in comparison with other offensive lines. Like I see a Hall of Famer and I see some pretty good players on their line. Yeah. Could Brendel be better? Sure. Barch, he starts the season on the non-football injury list, I believe. So they picked him up this offseason. He's working through a quad injury right now, but I don't think he's expected to miss a lot of time. So are there some questions in the interior? Yeah. But I think that they might be in okayish shape.
Maybe.
I hope not.
We'll see. Because then basically what you're relying on is Kyle Shanahan's scheme to help these guys maybe elevate their play a little bit above their reputation or what you generally see on film.
Right.
And man, last year, dude, like to hear the 49ers podcast sphere talk about Kyle Shanahan, is he past his prime? Has he lost his fastball? Has the league caught up to him?
I think that offense looks a lot different with a healthy Christian McCaffrey.
Do we ever see that again?
That's a good question. Will we see it again? That's why I point back to one of the comments I made earlier. A lot of the Niners' success has derived around injury luck.
Yeah.
And they were very unlucky last year.
Sure. I hear a lot of whining, which makes sense out of whiner land about the injury thing. And it's like, yeah, okay. Like there's so many teams that go through that sort of thing all the time. And you don't hear the crybaby ass stuff that you hear out of the Bay Area when it comes to their injuries. I'm not saying that they didn't have the injury bug hit them, but like, come on, like it's just an excuse. With McCaffrey, it's not like the injury thing popped out of nowhere. It's not like he came from Carolina as like this guy who was indestructible, and everybody be like surprised that, oh no, like both the backs of his calves are gone. You know, the Achilles are toast. Are they? We don't know. And it's going to be really interesting to see. But the thing is let's say McCaffrey is healthy, but not peak McCaffrey. Let's say he's 85% McCaffrey. Is that enough to carry this team? Or are you relying on Kyle Shanahan's system to get the most out of, and are you even getting a full season out of McCaffrey? Are you going to have to rely on Kyle's system to get the Isaac Guerendos of the world to be a guy that churns forward and keeps that offense on schedule to keep Brock Purdy in situations that he manages very well? To hear a lot of the Niners media talk about it, I'm not sure that we're still in that place.
It's weird, the divergence from some of those in Niner media world to those in national media world, because if you listen to national media, the 49ers are the clear odds on favorite to go ahead and win the NFC West. And we've spent a lot of time talking about that. Why is that? Well, you look at their schedule in the 2025 season.
And sure. If you want to waste some time, do that. Yeah, go ahead.
I think it's a big part of the reason why they're looked upon favorably, because when you look at the number of playoff teams that they face this year, who were in the playoffs last year, the Rams take up 2 of those spots as a division team, and they play the Bucks and they play the Texans. And then this is the other thing about it. I know that we say, well, it's a waste of time because you don't know who's bad last year, who's going to be good. When I go down the schedule of opponents, I don't even see teams that have that potential of being good, other than maybe our Seahawks, maybe the Atlanta Falcons, who is on the Niners schedule, and the Bears, which I put a big question mark with the tone of my voice.
Yeah.
And they don't play until week 17.
Yeah, exactly. Which that might be better for the Bears deal. I think it's going to take a minute for Ben Johnson and Caleb to mesh, if they're going to mesh. Because some of the initial reports of Ben and Caleb and training camp and all of that have been Ben Johnson being like fairly unhappy and riding his ass a bit. Yeah. And maybe that's exactly what's needed. But it could all work out.
Okay, I name those teams. Say they lose twice to the Seahawks to start the year, to end the year. They lose the 4 games to the playoff teams from last year. That's 6 losses.
Right.
And then, you know, even if you're counting 2 of those other teams as potential playoff teams that are going to be good, that gets you to 8. That's still 9-8, because the rest of their schedule is against teams like the Cardinals, the Jaguars, the Saints, the Giants, the Panthers, the Browns, the Titans, and the Colts.
Okay. So the Cards always seem to play the Niners tough, like no matter what.
Oh, yeah. It was 2 guaranteed losses there too.
Well, at least one. Like they seem to split almost every year. It's a little like when Fisher was at the end of his run with the Rams, and like they just weren't that good, and the Hawks were, you know, right at the peak of their powers, and yet the Rams would always play us like super tough for some unknown reason, because division, I don't know. So I would say, you know, that would be one place I'd look for an extra loss.
Both Cardinals games against the Niners are pre-Call of Duty release.
Ooh, that's helpful. And then I look at the rest of the teams that you rattled off there. I think New Orleans is going to be legit bad. I do. Now, Jacksonville, that's one of those teams that you could tell me they had 2 wins this upcoming season, or they ended up with 10 wins. And I'd believe you.
Yeah.
I'd believe you, because there's I can see a path for success there with Liam Cohen there. And I'm not totally out on Trevor, but we're running out of time at this point. Look, if you ask Clinton, Atlanta's going to be a heck of a football team.
I thought you liked Atlanta.
No, I
Clinton
never liked
Carolina.
Atlanta. I hate Atlanta. I always hate Atlanta. I like Penix.
That's right.
Yeah, but I can't stand that fan
I thought
base.
you liked them as a potential playoff team, though, this year.
Oh, hell no.
Okay.
No, I think their defense is still bad. Like
Who wins the South? The Bucks, I suppose.
If I had to put money on it right now, I would. Yeah, I'd probably take the Bucks. Yeah, I just don't think that Atlanta did enough to fix our pass rush because it was just abysmal last year. So maybe they could give them a run. Houston's good, but you already talked about them as part of the team, the good teams that they play. Giants, like, does Russ always had good games against the Niners for the most part?
Yeah.
If
even when he was in Denver, I think they beat the Niners.
Exactly. So little Russ revenge in there. Okay. So thanks, Russ. That's why we keep talking Russ up, because, our boy. Carolina, dude, they're going to be terrible. Everybody's listened to the show for a while. They know how I feel about that situation. Cleveland could still be good defensively, and maybe Dylan Gabriel comes out and is that guy. I know a lot of people are talking about Shedeur still and all of that. Like, okay, I mean, put him out there. He's not going to be a good pro. I'm just telling you right now. Tennessee could be plucky.
I don't know if Shedeur is going to beat Kenny Pickett on the depth chart.
That's fair. I honestly view them as very similar dudes.
Sure.
Yeah. So we'll see how that goes.
Okay. So all of those teams, and then you hit the bye week. They have a very late bye week, which is interesting.
Yeah. Which sometimes can be helpful. Sometimes it can be brutal. Tennessee could be plucky. Again, it could be a Tyler Lockett revenge game there. And I like Cam Ward a lot. I think that he's going to be good. And I like Brian Callahan too. That he did a nice job in Cincinnati when he was there under Zach Taylor. Mm-hmm. And he's got his dad there to help him, get the offensive line up and going. And I like some of the moves that they're doing there. I like that they made Will Levis go have surgery and go away so they didn't have to worry about him. Smart move.
Yep. Well, so talk about revenge games. You got the Brandon Allen revenge game then with the Titans.
Oh, that's true.
And then it goes into the DeForest Buckner revenge game.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think this is the end of Steichen there in Indy. Okay. I mean, Daniel Jones or AR, like, that's what we're doing. Get rid of Fries and they get rid of Kelly on the offensive line. And I mean, you still have Quentin Nelson and all that, but that's going to be tough. That's going to be tough sledding. Maybe
guaranteed win by the Colts. I hear what you're saying. Guaranteed win.
And then, even with the coaching debacle that was the Chicago Bears last year, that's a decent roster. And I expect them to be a competitive team. So, I mean, really, when I'm looking at it, the only cupcakes I see on their schedule is Indy, Cleveland, Carolina, and New Orleans.
Okay.
And possibly Jacksonville. Possibly.
Sure.
But you could sell me either way on that one.
Well, we will watch and see. The big thing is just seeing how devastated they're going to be after getting destroyed in Seattle to start the regular season. I just have to think that that's going to put them in a negative mindset. It's already going to start fans on the idea of, because once they get shut out, like, I don't know, what do you think a good score for that game is going to be? 52-3?
Week one?
Yeah.
It's going to be 17-0 Hawks. The offense is going to be a little choppy, but they're going to put some points up, and they're going to figure it out a little bit. They're going to be able to run the rock early as the Niners are trying to figure it out defensively with all the new pieces and all of that. And the defense is going to come out and be what we think they are out of the game.
35 of my points were counting for Purdy pick sixes.
Oh, okay. So Purdy meltdown week one, and everybody, the morning shows are going off like Brock Purdy got paid this much, like biggest mistake of all time or second biggest mistake of all time. You guys debate. Yeah,
exactly.
I love it.
So that's going to put them into a spiral early season, and it's going to be a tailspin that's going to be difficult to pull out of.
Let's hope so. I like it. But man, the number one takeaway when I started really thinking about Niners today, when we were sitting down to do this, is the best football is out west this year, whether that's NFC West or AFC West. There's one bad team in those two divisions, and you could make an argument that they could be a mediocre to slightly good team in the Cardinals.
Mm-hmm.
It's loaded out here. The coaches, the personnel, the competition. You may be able to argue the North, but honestly, I think the best football's in the West this year, and it's going to be freaking fun to watch, man. I can't wait.
Super Bowl preview, AFC West versus NFC West.
Ooh.
And it's not going to be the Niners. It's not going to be the Cardinals. And probably not going to be the Rams.
No, because there's got to be a year Stafford doesn't make it to the end.
Well, that puts a nice little bow on our Know Your Rivals series. I've had, speaking of AFC West, had a couple people say, maybe we do not know your rival necessarily, but know your exes. And we are going to be facing the Las Vegas Raiders coming up here in the preseason.
We are. This is a discussion for the second half of the show. Let's put it there because I have thoughts on this.
Okay, let's get to it. We are back into the second half of the show. Training camp, Adam, is underway and means we have some news. Unfortunately, it means we have injury news too, because probably the more significant piece of news that came out here just this weekend was that Kenny McIntosh down with a suspected ACL injury, which is a huge bummer because, gosh, just a couple years ago, he was hurt early on in the preseason in the practice game, had a knee injury, was out the whole season. We got to see some glimpses of him last year, and now we're not going to see him again this year.
Total bummer. And health is a part of talent, and it's tough because I think it's kind of hindered his ability to show what he can do consistently to get himself on the field, because there's been moments for Kenny Mack that you watch him run the rock and it's kind of undeniable. You're like, this guy is a baller. He can do a little bit of everything, and he runs with a little power, and he's a little shifty. And I was looking forward to seeing a lot more of Kenny Mack this preseason as he's entrenched in the battle, or maybe not now, unfortunately, but entrenched in the battle with Holani and Damian Martinez, and seeing where that position group goes. I thought that was going to be a heck of a battle, and one of the things I was most excited to watch in preseason. So my heart breaks for Kenny. He's been working his butt off, and heck of a dude, heck of a player. And I hope that the suspected ACL is wrong, in that it's just a scary tweak.
Right. Yeah, we'll have to wait and see on that. He was carried off the field reportedly. And it does take me to that depth piece, because Holani's a guy who we haven't seen a lot of apart from preseason. And when you go back and see his college tape and, even some little flashes in preseason, like, he has some really nice things that he's able to do. The Damian Martinez piece is intriguing to me, because now there's a clear path for him to make this final roster on a team that it sounds like, by all accounts, just because you hear JSN talking about, you hear, and that was one of the things that, talking to Thomas Rawls in our interview show this weekend, he was saying, if all of these people on the team are speaking in unison about running the ball and its importance, like, it's clearly funneling down from the top, and it has to get you excited.
Oh, it does. It gets me so fired up. By the way, fantastic job on the interview for you and Clinton with Mr. Rawls there. It's a fun listen. If you have not gone and found the interview with Thomas Rawls, go do it right now. If you listen to that and you're not just geeked out of your mind to watch guys just jelly it down people's throats and get the run game going and see this offense be the type of physical unit that we really want, if you don't come away from that excited, like, you're dead on the inside, dead. Like, you just stop being a human, because you don't have a heart.
It's got me really excited for the start of the season, because, again, it's one thing for us to speculate and go, oh, it sounds like, yeah, they're really going to run the football. But, like, Rawls was getting giddy at just when you'd say the words ground and pound, it was like you could hear him chuckling on the other end of the phone line.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the energy's infectious. Love Thomas Rawls. Loved it when he was here toting the rock, and especially when he's at the peak of his powers. Like, love his style, his mentality, everything about the dude. It'd be really cool if we could do a bit more with Thomas, because I'd love to hear more from him and his perspective on the run game for sure. And, listening to you guys talk about that and the emphasis by the team that does seem to be trickling down in a way that's very different than last year with Ryan Grubb.
Very different.
It's so exciting to think about K9 and Sharps. And then, dude, I'm a Damian Martinez believer.
Yeah,
I really am. I love his style. I love it reminds me a lot of Thomas Rawls in a lot of ways. Like, they play the game in a similar style and manner. And I think he could be fantastic for this team. And look, this is a little crazy. This is a hot take. I honestly believe he could be RB2.
I don't think it's necessarily that hot of a take, because one of the reasons why, and the people who would be saying that it seems hot takey, they're saying, well, how is a guy that was picked in, because what was it, the 6th round for Martinez?
6th or 7th, yeah.
Yeah, late round. Like, how is that going to be a guy that supplants a 2nd rounder in Zach Charbonnet? If you look at just the talent that Damian Martinez has, he was a guy who should have gone 2nd, 3rd round, and it was that type of talent. It was because of maturity issues that he had that were kind of in his past in college that scared away a lot of teams, and was a bigger reason why he slipped down the draft board.
Yeah, between that and the transfer from OSU to Miami,
I think the maturity thing had to play into that too.
Oh no, I'm saying that for sure.
Okay.
I'm confirming what you're saying there. Absolutely, total agreement. And then you tack on playing at Oregon State and playing in a system that's very similar to what we're going to be doing now in terms of philosophy, where he really looked like a difference maker. And then going to Miami, where it was very Cam Ward centric and a little more spread out, and maybe not a system that would accentuate his strengths. And add all that together, you end up being maybe a later round pick. But I mean, guys,
it was the 7th round. Wow.
Yeah. We've seen this before, boys and girls. Like Chris Carson, anybody?
Uh-huh. But a lot of his was more due to injury and not having a ton of playing time.
Yeah. Yeah. They're at Oklahoma State instead of Oregon State. Yeah.
The other OSU.
Exactly. Wait, the other OSU? Yeah. Maybe that's why the OSU guys are so big on the Ohio State. Maybe that's what it's all about. I made fun of him for a long time for that. But I honestly believe that Damian Martinez is a real power back. And to me, Charbonnet is not that guy. He's not a thumper.
Maybe he did a lot of lifting this offseason. Maybe
he looked jacked in one of of his interviews. Dude.
I mean, everybody does. Gosh, K9 reports are about K9 coming out of camp is that he's looking good. Could be
Have
fun.
you been following K9's new YouTube channel?
I have. I only watched his initial one. I haven't watched his. I have him in my playlist.
Yeah, worth watching. Interesting dude. He's fun. He's infectious. I get it.
Yeah, I'll get to it.
Yeah, he tried doing a little bit of goalie stuff during one of his off-season training workouts.
Like hockey goalie or soccer goalie?
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's a bunch of different athletes training at this facility. I want to say it was in Texas. I don't remember where it was, but whatever. And there were some professional soccer players there and like a goalie coach, and started kicking balls to him, and he smokes one past K9, and dude's like, I thought you could catch. And he's like, dude, like, that's crazy. But it was fun.
That's fun. Yeah. All right. Well, speaking of fun, do we have a little fun with Know Your Exes?
Know Your Exes. Yeah. I don't know, Brandon. So here's the thing. There's been a couple trolly guys in the comments here and there that I love Pete Carroll. I will always love Pete Carroll.
Right.
One of my favorite football figures of all time, no doubt about it. Everybody knows how I feel about Gino, big Gino fan, and guy's been once you go just be a Raiders fan then. Well, okay, like I could still like the dude and root for their success when they move on, right? But with that said, is it healthy? Is it healthy? Because I haven't been watching any of the like Pete Carroll pressers or Raiders hype or any of that stuff. I haven't tuned into none of it because it feels a little like just like a regular X. Like, you don't look at their Insta, you don't look at their face. Don't do that. It's just bad for your deal.
No, I think if we were to do it, we would have to do it in know your rival fashion, where we crap all over them and talk about why they're going to be terrible.
I can't crap all over Pete. I can't do it.
Okay, we might not be able to do it then.
Yeah,
we might just have to do a normal Raiders preseason preview game episode.
There we go. I am fired up for Pete though, and it looks like they're having fun and they're doing it the Pete way. And Gino obviously fits right in there. And interesting that they brought Jamal Adams back for a cup of coffee here. We'll see what happens there, but
so that's probably the one area where I looked into the most, because it was like, what are they going to do with Jamal Adams? And it sounds like they're going to move him to linebacker.
Okay. I guess. I think for Pete, that's got to be like more of a culture move.
It's got to be something. But yeah.
Because like they jettison Wilkins. There's like, can't win with you.
And I saw some people going, oh, should we go out and get Christian Wilkins? Sounds like it was a really weird like team dynamic, like getting into a fight type situation.
Yeah.
I don't think I would want to go there. Like I want to have good team dynamics.
Yeah. Well, maybe if you're worried about the Hankins injury and it not being there at camp with the lower back, which I think is a 13-year-old vet back, that they're like, just don't be here. Why? I that doesn't feel like a legit, to use a Pete term, a legit injury.
No.
A legit back. Yeah.
All right. Well, could be just a normal Raiders preview. We are going to be playing them coming up here in the preseason. It'll be fun to see Pete on the sideline.
I'm so jacked.
But,
I can't wait. I'm so freaking fired up for preseason week 1, man. Like I can barely contain myself. It's finally here. Because we get to be done with the nonsense part of doing this podcast, which is, well, that guy might be good and that guy might be bad. And I like this and I don't like that. And like nobody catfish knows. Nobody, not even the dudes in the building. And we all sit here and talk like we do. And we finally get to see results on the field.
Here's a list that this guy's on. Here's a list that this guy's on.
Right? Like, let's go. Let's go. Let's see this Kubiak offense. Let's see him run the rock. Let's see K9 be everything he can be. Let's see Sam Darnold make me look stupid. Like, I can't wait.
Man, that potential is there too, and I can't wait for it.
Yeah. Oh, me neither. Like, that's the thing. Is like I can't. I want Sam to be so good to make me so dumb. Like, I want that more than anything.
And he's a dude that is just a super cool dude.
I know. I like the guy. I've said that from, the jump. A lot like when Grubb came in. I was like, dude, I'd have beers with that dude for sure. But, on the football playing part. So, we'll see. But we get to finally see, Brandon, a little bit of Jalen Milroe. I don't know if you've been listening to some of the other guys out there. Like I've been tuning into Hawk Blogger a little bit with some of his recaps, and we're starting to stack some performances, Brandon, and for Milroe that I think are surprising people that had written him off as a thrower based on narratives.
Yeah, they have been, and so that's why I've been a little bit skeptical. But I think that. Yeah, that stacking performances idea. And the fact that we're not even to the first preseason game, once we start seeing, okay.
He's not even running in practice, right? Because that's not what we're doing right now.
Right. And that's what I mean. Once we get to preseason football, like that's going to be Jalen Milroe time to shine. Because, okay, Sam Darnold, we don't need to see him out there apart from a couple of drives. That's how I think it's more likely. And then we get to Drew Lock and we see Drew Lock too. Drew Lock is going to look good against other teams' twos. And Absolutely. So I just know that going in. And then we're going to start to get to the second half of the preseason game. And that's when Jalen Milroe is going to come in. And not only are we going to see him throwing the football, but we're also going to see him running the football And I think that's going to start to get folks a little bit excited.
I think it's 100% certainty. I don't see how it's not going to happen, to be honest, because just the legs part is so translatable to the league that then you put him up against threes for a half and he's going to get like a bunch of opportunities. It's going to get noisy, man. It's going to get super noisy around the quarterback position, especially because I think, to your point, we'll see Sam for like a drive. 3 throws on the drive as they run the hell out of the football, and goes 1 for 3 and like one miss that was kind of like, it was just good coverage, and one miss where you're kind of like, oh, I'd like that to be a little bit more accurate, but not a bad throw, and then like one good completion, and then Drew's gonna come out and he's gonna brew against the twos, and that's gonna be spicy, and then Milroe's gonna come out and do his thing. And all of a sudden, you're going to be having these conversations among the fan base that's going to be spicy, dude. I can't wait for it. We'll get to know just how dedicated Mike Macdonald is to his vision going into the season about the pecking order, because we heard him say, like, in no uncertain terms on Brock and Salk's show, Sam Darnold's week 1 starter. What are we talking about? You guys are stupid. Not trying to put them down, but just like, hey, that's crazy talk.
The idea of anyone starting other than Sam is crazy. And I look at the way Coach Mike has been handling a lot of the pressers this offseason. He seems very in control of this football team. And so I think that had this happened last year, totally different story of Mike Macdonald having that kind of confidence as a first-year head coach and having to deal with some of those questions. I would wonder. Year 2, I feel like he's probably going to be able to, as long as he's very focused on the vision of this team with Sam Darnold being at the head of it, I say that he's able to get through it. And part of that is like the way he handles questions about high expectations from the fans, which he was asked in one of these preseason pressers. And I loved his answer because he's like, no, the high expectations about this team from the fans doesn't bother me because they aren't any higher than we have as expectations among us, like on the actual team.
Oh, for sure. And he's got a steadiness to him that I don't think he gets knocked off his spot easily. So if he has a vision for Sam Darnold, for sure, be crazy to think that Sam Darnold isn't your starter week 1, then I would imagine that's where we're going to go. Even when, I think is the better way to put it. Drew looks nice in preseason and Milroe looks like 3/4 Lamar Jackson against the threes, and like you're getting just geeked out of your mind about it. I think he'll stick to it. And I also think it helps to have somebody like Clint Kubiak as your OC at that point too, when that talk starts to swirl. A guy that has been around the league his entire life. He's seen it all. And just another guy that can go out there in front of the press. And I don't feel like anybody bullies Kubiak into saying anything that he doesn't want to say. And he's very deliberate and on point. And so I think the message from the team is going to stay pretty consistent, despite what fans say. And I'm going to just say this right now, despite what I'm going to be saying in 3.5 weeks, because I can feel it coming already. I can. I can. And I know my irrational fandom part is going to pop out here. I know it is.
Yeah. Well, I think it will for a lot of the fan base. And again, that's why I think talking about it now, knowing that it's coming, and then going back to what we said early on with the pick and saying this probably a year out is more the time to get excited. But we're probably going to get a little bit excited. It's funny listening to you talk about Coach Mike and not being bullied. I think it was Michael Sean Dugar who had the question to him about the Noah Fant release. He's like,
yeah,
why release Noah Fant now? And his answer was, I'm not going to tell you that.
Yeah.
It's like, why don't you have like a different answer? Like, oh, well, just this is how the timing happened to work out. Like his response was flat out, no, I'm not going to tell you that.
Fine. Like I'm good with it. I don't need him wasting time coming up with BS answers as to why they released Noah Fant when we all know it's like cap hit versus production. Like, and Arroyo obviously doing enough early that has gotten people excited. Because one of the things Clinton and I were talking on the phone just before he popped on here, and just here in the next couple of weeks, going back and looking at where the rookies are compared to some of our thoughts coming out and seeing what confirms what things are maybe the opposite of what we thought coming out. Obviously Milroe, for me, I was like, dude, this guy's so much better than you think. And it's already starting to pop out, and that's exciting. And then Clinton was talking about, like, he was way down on the Arroyo pick, right? Like, not his dude. And we're starting to hear it in camp now. It's like, damn, okay. Like, he's kind of a matchup nightmare.
Yeah, it's going to be fun to watch. So a lot of fun, and a lot of fun thanks to our executive producers, DCH, Ryan Peterson, our live YouTube executive producer. Looking forward to doing some more live shows here now that the preseason going to be starting. Also, thanks to JC Schilling and the 313th. And no new members of the flock this week, Adam, but you know, I want to make sure and thank. We could run down our list of some of our YouTube members too. I don't think we've thanked them a while as part of the flagship show.
Solid point.
We've got JT1408, who, along with the snail, have been YouTube members the longest, 34 months, part of our YouTube membership. Rocky Finney right there with 33 months. Leo not far behind, along with David G, Dan J. We got Gornish Slick, Chris B, NW Gambit, Nate Lloyd, About That Action Boss, Pedro F. Let's see, we've got Jennifer R, we've got Marianne H, Yoki Hawk, Marcus M, Sham, Long Live the King, Ryan E, Dogzilla Monster, Marvin L, we've got Other Andy, not the Andy, just Other Andy, Sean S, Ryan W, Pork Adobo, Aaron F, Troy S, and that rounds out our group out on YouTube, Adam.
That's amazing. You guys are rock stars. It's been so fun to go on this journey on the video end of things and trying to put our toe in that water. It's been a little different, but you guys and your support, it makes a huge difference. And hearing those names that you rattled off there, like so many of the folks that you hear there, like in the comments all the time and in the live shows, and love having that interaction with you guys. So just tons of thanks to you guys.
So yes, if you want to be a member out on YouTube, youtube.com/Seahawkers podcast. We've also got getintheflock.com and joining through Patreon. It gets you onto our mailing list whenever we release shows through that way. Gosh, I think I do need to be putting out an announcement because we have, I think, 4 tickets left for the home opener against the San Francisco 49ers. So that's pretty much sold out. I had to go and get extra tickets for the Titans game because, we added, I think, a group of 8 into our group going to Tennessee. So just know that, the Titans have been actually really nice to work with and find seats that are kind of in our seating area.
That's
so,
awesome.
that should be a fun time. So if you are still looking to go to that game, I don't have tickets, but I do have the potential to get tickets.
Okay.
So good to know.
Yeah.
And
lovely time of year to be in Tennessee too, people.
Yeah. Going to be November? Perfect time.
It is.
All right. What do you say we get on to some do better and better at life?
All right, man. My do better this week is for
catfish
cottonwood trees. I'm telling you, man, like they have been the bane of my existence for my entire lifetime because I am ungodly allergic to their stupid puffballs that they shoot out for like half a summer and like just make me miserable, make my face drain, like just it's awful. So last night, Brittany and I were driving home from outside the Missoula area. We had a couple hours to get home, and there's 2 ways to get home. There's one up a Forest Service road that follows Popular Creek. It's a popular Forest Service road, but it's 40 miles of dirt road from the interstate to our driveway, right? And so it's a bit of a commitment, but it's not like crazy remote wild or anything. We're in the middle of July, right? The other way is to go on the highways as we do like most of the year. And it's a good hour and a half all the way around there. And we're driving home. It's getting late. Like we ended up staying out a little later than we had intended doing what we were doing. And so it's like 9:30, 10 o'clock. And it's like, all right, which way do we take? And so finally we decide, hey, let's take the Forest Service Road. It'll be good for Ollie. He can stick his head out the window. We can stop a few times, let him romp around. It'll be great. So we're driving up the road and a little squall like comes through, like for 5 minutes. Like it just gets like a little stormy and, the rain starts coming down and I'm sitting there being like, man, I hope there's no catfish blowdowns out of this, like that would suck. We get 20.
And the reason why you worry about that too is was it a cottonwood that fell on your guest cabin there too, or is that a different kind of tree?
No, that was a fir tree, and that was legit Zeus just being like, "That's really cute. You finished something for once in your life. That's hilarious." Poof, no more. And he just like threw a thunderbolt down on top of that. So I don't blame the fir on that. That was the gods. But no, this I blame cottonwood trees because we get 26 freaking miles up the road, Brandon. It's coming up on 11 o'clock at night. We're maybe 15 minutes from home, 20 minutes from home on this road. And we pass a Forerunner full of a bunch of aging boomers. And they're like, hey, tree across the road, like big tree, like we're turning around and going back. And I'm like, dude, I don't know. Like, that's like 2 hours now, 2.5 hours to go all the way back around the Jianglang mountain range to get back home. I'm like, nah, I'm at least going to go look at it, because maybe there's something you could do. Maybe tow it out or drive over it or drive around it. I don't know. You never know.
Yeah.
So,
because you have stuff in your car, like you could cut like a small tree if you had to, right?
Usually, yes. But unfortunately, this is a new vehicle to us and I haven't transferred over all of the things like that, like tow straps and saws and all that stuff, right? So I don't really have anything with me, but we had a dog leash. I could maybe rope that around something, and jerk it around with the Jeep and see what happens. I figure something out. I usually do. And so then we go about another mile up the road. We come across another truck coming back the other way, and it's a big Chevy with a couple Montana Bubbas in there, right? And they're like, yeah, no, like you ain't getting through. I was like, what are you talking about? Like, how big is this thing? And they're like, dude, it was all the way across the river and got blown down and came across the road, and it is blocked in a narrow spot. There's no way around it. I was like, come on. And they're like, yeah. So they show me a picture, and it's as big as a dude, like standing. This massive mama jamma tree. We don't have many of those. But of course, it was a soft ass catfish in Cottonwood. That catfish blew over in a 5-minute windstorm to screw our entire freaking night. And we had to drive about another 100 miles total all the way around the Jianglongs to get home. We get home at like 1:30, exhausted because of stupid effing cottonwood trees. Go screw yourself, tree. I hate you. Cottonwood trees, do better.
Oh man, that's because normally I feel like the Adam I know wouldn't allow like a stupid tree across the road to deter him.
Never. Even if I'd have had my tiny saw in there, I think I'd done enough surgery to like get 2 cuts to get a chunk that I could move around and sneak by.
Enough of a chunk to drive a vehicle through.
Yeah, I think I could have gotten it done, but. Yeah, unfortunately, didn't do that. So, motivating factor to get some of those things sorted for the new rig.
That's the reason why you have a Jeep, is so you could even drive up into the trees and around.
I know.
Yeah,
and this fell from like it's like kind of a bow in the river, and so across the river is like a flat area where this stupid effing cottonwood was growing, and it blew over there to the opposite side of the river across the road. And because it's like the outside bend of the river, it's cliffy right there and real narrow. So there's nowhere to go. It's just like strategically everything. It was like a giant middle finger from those dirty cottonwoods.
Well, I got a giant middle finger from UPS with a next day delivery this past week. Yeah, I put in an order. I knew I wanted to have it cut before the weekend, and so I paid a little bit extra for the next day delivery, and it was great because it arrived, like I could see it arrived on Friday. It was at the UPS hub here in town, and I'm like, great. But then like noon rolls around, it hasn't moved. It's still saying, oh, you're going to get it by the end of the day. And then like at 4 p.m. it shows that it's processing, and I'm like, okay, maybe they got in late. Somebody, was struggling to get it together. They'll find a way to get it out by the end of the day because they will. Doesn't happen. So I'm thinking, okay, well, the last time this happened to me was that it happened on a Friday. They didn't deliver it on Saturday because they have you have to pay extra for Saturday delivery.
That's a whole other category. Yep.
Right. It's a whole other category, but it's a category that you can't even choose if you're shipping something on a Thursday overnight, because if you're paying next day delivery, it's going to be for Friday. So why would you pay next day Saturday delivery on a Thursday? It doesn't make sense. But they won't deliver it to you on a Saturday even if they decide to sit on it the entire Friday. It makes absolutely no sense. It arrived on a Friday. They chose to sit on it and didn't deliver again on Saturday. It frustrates me to no end. Now I'm waiting till Monday, and it's supposed to be the next day delivery. Do better.
Yeah, so you kind of started that out with it. It's like, I paid a little extra to have it next date, right? Like, let's be clear. A little extra, like how many more mortgages did you take out on your house? Which one of your 3 daughters are you trading for this next day delivery? Because it ain't a little extra. They charge an arm and a leg.
Well, that's the thing. They usually do. But I had the option. It was like, so they have like the free shipping option, which, even though you can choose free shipping, it's not free for the person who's shipping it. But I think for 3-day it was like $10, and then for overnight it was $25. So I'm like, of course, like that's I would rather have it sooner than later.
I'll pay the 1.5 times more, right?
It's still 1.5 times more. Yeah. And when you pay it, you're like, I've now paid for the service. Now you have to deliver on it.
Literally, right?
And it's just sitting there. It's here.
Oh, and that's the part, right? That just
that's the other part of this is that UPS, the cool thing, it used to be like it's right by my house. And so I could just drive to UPS and say, oh, hey, you got a package for me. Here's my name. About, I don't know, a year ago, they completely closed the customer service center part of UPS. And now they send you to the UPS store, which they have like no actual contact with the UPS people.
Yes, 1,000%. Like, yes, there was a time we could go to Butte and go to the UPS hub.
Yeah.
And there was a little side door if you kind of knew, and you could walk in there and everybody dirty eye you, right? Because they're like, God, another customer in here. Like, this is just for us. Like, but somebody would always begrudgingly come over and be like, yeah, fine, it's over here, right? Whatever. Nope. Like you said, about 1.5 years ago, they've gone full clandestine, man. Like, that thing is locked up like Fort Knox, fences, razor wire. I'm sure there's dogs back there probably that are ready to tear you bit for bit. Because heaven forbid you go to where your catfish package is and ask for it when they couldn't do the decency of delivering it when you paid to have it done by 1.5 times over. You said, yes, take my money, give me my catfish. And they were like, can't be bothered. And on top of that, even if you want to try to go and do it for yourself, no, can't do that either.
I know. I would have been saving them a trip to my place. I could go to them.
Yeah, and then you got to go to the UPS store. You go in there, and there's some 19-year-old who used to be a barista that doesn't know jack about any of the logistics or anything, and they have no access to it in their system on top of that. And they just look at you and be like, well, would you like to buy a P.O. box here? Like, they don't know. Like, what a waste. What is going on?
I will defend the UPS store people. They are pretty cool.
It's not their fault.
But I did show them the tracking number, and the dude there was like, oh, I've never seen that before.
Right? This is what I'm saying. It's not their fault.
No.
Yeah.
I feel like if UPS is going to put it on the UPS store in town, like they should at least have a direct number to UPS to go, hey, you said that this was going to be overnight. It's there. Can somebody come there and pick it up?
Right. And that's the other thing is there's no one to call. There's no one to call. You call that 1-800 number. Why don't you just light your next hour on fire? Because you're just going to be going through robocalls and pressing buttons and you never talk to a person.
Yes.
It's annoying. Like, and not only that, but I feel bad for like the drivers and stuff too, because like our driver Dave out here, I was talking about that big long dirt road that we live on, right? Yeah. So they only deliver just a mile from the upper end now to our driveway. Only because, and that's as far as they go anymore. They don't go the 15 miles down that they used to, because poor Dave, the speed limit is 35 miles an hour on that road. And like when it's graded in nice, sure. Halfway through the summer, when all the fly fishermen and Toyota bros have been up and down there with their RAS 45,000
Oh, I bet
times,
it gets super rutted.
it's awful. It's just pothole city. And in the winter, it's pothole city. So like at that point, they have an algorithm and a GPS tracker on his truck. And they're like, hey, at 35 miles per hour, this many stops, these many packages, this is how long it takes you to do this part of the route. And of course, when the road is in that condition, it takes Dave 3 times as long because he's a person and he can't do anything about it. And so they finally, and he was getting in trouble. And so they almost cut the entire route completely until we all pitched a fit. Just, I don't know what's going on over at UPS, but they need to get their poop in a group, dude.
So the moral of the story, we need to hang on to USPS, like the U.S. Postal Service. Like we need competition at least, because if UPS is allowed to take over everything, we're all screwed.
Yeah, and look, so for USPS, I think most of their like official employees are, for the most part, like good folks. Some of their contracted rural carriers, we could look into that a little bit. I may have been missing like 4 or 5 packages that came USPS one winter and then found them in the springtime because they had been chucked out into a snowbank.
Jeez.
Yeah. Like out of malice. Yeah. Just
I agree. Contracted part. That's a little
sketchy. It's sketchy.
All right. Well, we've talked enough about the mail and trees now. On to Better at Life.
All right. Well, my Better at Life than Skip Bayless this week is not for a human. It's for an animal. It's for a grizzly bear, Brandon. So last week, Brittany always gets up a little bit before me. I hate mornings. Mornings are a state of mourning. I'm not an early morning person. Never will be. Screw mornings. But she gets up and I'm kind of in that groggy state, getting ready to like climb down from the loft and whatever. And she comes racing in the cabin. She's like, "There's a bear." And I was like, "What? Okay, fine." You know, and I hear Ollie, he's losing his catfish out there, right? Like he's barking his face off. So climb down the ladder, and I'm all blurry eyed or whatever. And she's like, "It's big." And I was like, "Yeah, okay." And so to give you some context, where we live is kind of in between the 2 main grizzly bear populations in the lower 48. So like it's kind of contextualizes like the glacier population and then the Yellowstone population. Now, there's obviously some mountain ranges outside of that where they live full time, but that's pretty much it, right? But occasionally, bears will transition between those 2 grizzly bear populations, and obviously they have to come through our area, right? But it's rare. It's rare, and I hear people all the time, "Oh, I saw a grizzly," and like you see the picture, and you're like, "Is it?" Like it's tough to tell at times. So I'm very skeptical.
Well, you don't want to get too close to get a really good picture of a grizzly bear.
Yeah. So this was like 75 yards off the front porch, maybe 60. So broadside, Brittany got a great view, and she's like, "There's a big old hump on this thing. I'm telling you, like, I think this is a grizzly bear." And I was like, "Yeah, whatever." So like I climbed down, and by the time I get down and out, bear's kind of rambling up the gulch, and I just see the butt. So like, I don't know, right? But Ollie again barking his face off, trying to chase him off. Bear's like, "Yeah, I hear you. I know you don't want me here. Okay, fine. But I'm not doing this in a hurry. All right. Like I'll leave, you simmer down, like whatever, but call Ollie off. He comes back like good dog. And come to find out that later on, confirmed by Fish, Wildlife, and Parks in 2 different ways, grizzly bear for sure, which is super rare. But why this grizzly bear is better at life than Skip Bayless is a lot of folks that don't live around bears, like we all think of them as like murder machines, right? Like that's what's thought of. Most bears are chill. Like most bears are good bears. This was a good bear. He wasn't screwing around with anything. He wasn't digging through, cabins or trying to get at food or anything like that. He didn't go after the dog. like, and get all pissy about that. He was kind of like, yeah, fine, keep your distance, we're good. Didn't get weirded out when Brittany was out there, you know, kind of yelling at Ollie and all that. Did absolutely good bear things. And when you got those sort of bears that pass through, give them a pat on the back. Like, those are the bears I can live with. And so to Mr. Grizzly or Mrs. Grizzly, whichever it was that sauntered through, you are better at life than Skip Bayless.
Yeah, that's right. Because you don't want the ones that go through your stuff. Because sometimes those ones will be the ones that tend to stick around too. They're like, oh, there's a food source here. I'm going to stick around. But yeah, if they're just moving on their way, they're not big fans of people. That's why generally you don't see too many grizzly bears, because as soon as they hear you coming, they're going to start moving the other direction.
Yeah, for the most part. I've bumped into a handful of grizzly bears, and I'm not saying you can't have a bad interaction. You can, and people do. Like,
especially if they get surprised. They don't like surprises.
They do not like surprises. No surprise birthday parties for grizzlies for sure. But yeah, that was a wholesome, fun, like off-grid homestead interaction that, like, you get to see that sort of wildlife, and we all coexist together well. And it's since moved on and all that, and it was just cool. It was a cool Montana moment.
Not a cool Montana moment was when I had a bear digging through my trash can at my house. Like, that doesn't happen very often either, but I've only had that happen once.
Not in city limits, right?
Yeah, I'm in city limits. Crazy, right? That a bear would be digging through trash cans in town.
Yeah,
I actually caught it on my camera. I probably told this story. It was a while. It was a couple years back, but it came through and it tipped over my garbage can, and then it pulled out one of the bags, and then it dragged it down to the sidewalk, and that's where it tore into it, and it was like sitting there having a picnic out of my garbage. I was like, okay, this is a nice place to stop and eat. And,
yeah. No, my previous house, like when I was a young man, we had a black bear that was hanging out in our neighborhood, and I found my garbage can one day and it had big teeth puncture marks in it and all that. And so FWP came out to relocate it. And before they did, like, my door to outside was opposite of the wall that the TV was on, and Sports Center was on, and I'm like watching Sports Center but walking to this French door that's all glass, and I go and I put my hand on the doorknob and then turn around, and here's this big cinnamon colored black bear with his nose pressed right up against the glass. Then I'm like, and like bear's like, and he runs up the hill about 50 yards and like sits down and is like panting, and I like open the door. I'm like, dude, you scared the catfish out of me. And he's looking at me, he's like, you scared the catfish out of me. And it was fun, but he ended up getting relocated, and he's a happy bear somewhere else.
Yeah, that's so. Hey, honorary Better at Life to Fish, Wildlife, and Parks for bear relocation programs.
Yeah, if you're ever curious as to how they do that, it's really cool. The traps that they use and the way that it all goes down. There's videos online. I've gone out on a relocation once when I was doing photojournalism stuff. It was really neat.
They drop them off up at the mountains where they can do bear things.
Yep, absolutely. Go bear over here.
All right, my Better at Life this week is for Aaron Donald. Yes, former Rams Aaron Donald.
No,
because
you're cut off. No, yeah. Where's Clinton?
Hear me out.
I'm replacing you right now. Okay.
Hear me out, because current Rams player Jared Verse was none too happy with his recent interaction with former Rams player Aaron Donald, who Aaron was just trying to show him the ropes on how he worked out. And so he took Jared Verse through his workout routine. Yeah. And this was Jared's response.
I show up. It's like 11 in the morning. I'm thinking we got like an hour workout. I got plans after. I got things I got to do throughout the day. I was planning on watching film and everything like that. We show up. He doesn't say hi and nothing like that. He sees me. He's like, come on. Gives me a little dap up. We walk inside. He's like, stretch how you have to. I stretch. We do 4. Everything he does is like a circuit. We do 4 workouts. It's all cardio. Versus a climber bike. What was it? Lunges and core. 4 rounds each. You do all that. You're already tired. You're kind of like, oh my God, whatever. Then you do 4 sets of core, 2 different workouts. So it's like 8 different workouts, 4 sets each. You do all that for 4 sets. You go through, he's like, all right, you ready for the real workout? I'm like, bro, I've been here for 45 minutes. What are you talking about? We go to the weight room. It's all arms. That's why he's big as hell. We go to the weight room. It's like 8 different circuits, all arms, 4 sets each. I'm there for an hour and a half. His wife came in laughing at me. I told her to call the police. I'm dead serious. Like, I'm not even joking. I'm dead serious. I told her to call the police. She wouldn't do it. I tried to lie and say my mom was at my house and I had to go let her in. He told me to give my keys to his, like his management or assistant or something. They would go let my mom in. So I wasn't leaving. Finished the workout. I'm like dead tired. I'm exhausted. I had a plan to go jump in the sauna afterwards. Didn't happen. Had plans to watch film. Didn't happen. Went home and I didn't work out for like another day and a half because I couldn't move my body.
Is it mind-blowing that he still does that every day?
He needs to stay away from me, and the security sees him on property. They need to take care of him.
See, now this you'd be thinking this would be a do better. Like if Jared Verse went through this workout routine and said, I've got to do this to be like Aaron Donald, then yes, this would be a do better. But Aaron Donald, from what I heard from Jared Verse, has him questioning life in football. And so if he has to take a day to recover because Aaron Donald beat him up so much with his workout to make him threaten to call the police on Aaron Donald or security if he shows up on campus, then I think I like this version of Aaron Donald. If he can make more Rams players that are currently on the team tap out, I'm all for it. Aaron Donald, Barrett Life, and Skip Bayless.
There you go. Yeah, kind of showing that maybe there's a little bit of quitter there in Jared Verse. I mean, I don't know. He had a nice season last year, but with that
That's
said,
what I mean. I think I'd be okay if he decides that he has to quit after going through an Aaron Donald workout, decides NFL's not for him. I'll take it.
I think the good news that you take away here is that Aaron Donald isn't going to waste his breath on that dude no more. So like any advice or any of that stuff, it ain't coming Jared Verse's way anymore. That's good for the Seahawks. That's good for my deal. I like that because apparently it sounds like Jared Verse is about ready to file for a restraining order. Like,
Hey, I have a very good idea that he's not going to be working out with Aaron Donald anymore after that. That's
right.
I think we can say that for sure.
The other thing that I took away from that, Brandon, is listening to Jared Verse be like, yeah, I thought I was going to work out for 45 minutes. Like, you really only need to work out for 45 minutes to be like a upper tier NFL player. Catfish you. Like that just makes me mad a little bit. Like, come on. Like I expect what he described Aaron Donald doing. That's what I expect to hear when you hear about guys being upper tier players.
Yeah.
Like
it's your full-time job.
Yeah.
You work out. Like I bet if Abe Lucas talked a lot about like his workout routine recently, talking with Hot Blogger on one of his interviews. I wonder if Abe would have been so quick to tap out of one of these Aaron Donald workouts.
Never.
That's right.
Big Abe's a warrior.
Exactly. And he's on our team. He's no quitter.
That's right. So, hey, thanks for Aaron Donald for showing me that I was partially right last year that a Jared Verse and a Fisk does not equal an Aaron Donald. Like, clearly, we know that now.
Can't do it. So, yes, as we wrap up our Know Your Rivals series, it's pretty obvious to me, Adam. Rams going to be no good. We heard it there. Jared Verse is a quitter. Niners, we covered it today. A bunch of bums.
Chokers, like new roster, like Salah can't save them. It's over.
Cardinals, they haven't even made the step to where we even care yet.
Yeah, I mean, let me know when you get rid of your midget quarterback and we can have a conversation.
And I think with that,
I think there's only one thing left to say.
Go Hawks.
Catfish the Niners. I mean, go Hawks.